Yo, what is up, everybody? Hang on a second. I'm ahead of my skis because I've just finished. I'm a lot of breath. I've been jumping around and trying to throw it in anyone who even like looks like they look. If a person looks like a horse, if a person has a long face, I'm yelling in their face because our Raiders are 1-0 today. Big win, 17-16. It was like kind of like an efficient game, but also kind of a sloppy game at the same time. And we're going to get into it. Look, this is my rule. I know we want to talk about a certain somebody. I know a lot of you do. We're not talking about that. We're moving on. All right? We're talking about this team right here. Before I go any further, before I start, before I even do my haters and mamas and friends and all that stuff, I want to say Jacoby Myers, man, get well. Hope you're good. That was an ugly hit. I never like to see that. Somebody who coming from someone who's gone through a head injury, myself, that is that's scary to watch. When I see someone frozen with their hands cupped and their eyes wide open, it just takes me back to a very, very bad place. So Jacoby Myers, please get better. Chandler Jones, hope you're doing well, man. Uh, okay, now that I got that out of the way, we're gonna get this out of the way. Make sure everyone like, comment, and subscribe. Tell your friends, tell your haters, tell your mamas, tell everybody about the Autumn Windbags. We're taking over the motherfucking world. 1-0. 1-0. So a lot to talk about, man. Great game. Look, when you're playing a division game on the road, it's always going to be ugly. Whether it's an ugly slugfest like this one or someone gets smoked. Like it's going to be ugly. There's no like, oh, that was a pretty game. Like, dude, it's going to be ugly. And I I really liked a lot of what I saw. There's a lot that we need to work on, of course. Uh, but there's a lot that a lot we can improve on, which is what we expected. So let me get this shit out of the way so I can talk freely to my people. All right, the bad guys win 17-16. We are 1-0 to start the season. Um, Look, guys, there was a lot of things that um, that happened bad. There's also a lot of things that happened in our favor. We have to understand something here. Normally, when you face a division rival, there's going to be a lot that they know about you. In this case, Vance Joseph stayed around. He knows us. Um, the offense looked a little bit different. Um, the Sean Payton, I think, drew up a pretty nice game plan for Russell Wilson. Them missing Jerry Judy did help us, but it was one of those things where you were going to have to make plays after the fact. You have to run and tackle, run up and tackle, because they were doing a lot of crossing, a lot of late breaks, a lot of throwing to running backs and tight ends late. They were chipping and they were blocking. And they were like leaking out. They were doing a lot of that stuff. I don't know whether they didn't have a lot of confidence throwing the ball deep. They did a couple of double moves, and we'll talk about Ja'Cory Bennett and the other rookies. But man, a lot more short tackling. Look, Ja'Cory Bennett, welcome to the NFL, Ja'Cory Bennett. It is what it is. You got these guys are the best of the best in every team they've ever been on, and now you're facing these guys, true number one receivers wherever they've been in the pros. That's bite on double moves. But I like Ja'Cory Bennett getting his nose in there and not being afraid to tackle. He's a physical tackler. Nate Hobbs got a lot, real physical. Of course, Max is going to be in there a lot. So there's a lot to talk about. I am extremely impressed by the end result of our defense. There's a lot of things that we need to work on within our defense, but we got two big stops late in the fourth quarter. very similar to what we had when we had the ball on the 1. They had the ball, goal to go. They only got a field goal. If they would have scored a touchdown, it would have pretty much put the game away. We held them to a field goal, and then we went down and scored. Situational football. We stop, get the ball back, and we get the first downs. It's not about scoring. It's not about protecting the football. It's about knowing the situation. It's about knowing what you have to do. I'm telling you guys, winning these types of football games is a skill. Jimmy G's stats don't jump out at you, okay? I think he had like 200 yards. He had 2 touchdowns, 1 pick. That pick was his fault. He threw it to Amir Abdullah. He threw it to a running back high, and he flamed it. The ball popped in the air and he got picked. That's his fault. I'm not gonna say anything that is, oh well, you should have caught it or hit his hands. No, you're throwing the ball to a running back from like 15 feet away, and you fire it like with everything you have. Yeah, it's gonna get intercepted. So Jimmy G, 20 of 26 for 200 yards, 2 touches and a pick, sacked 0 times, rating of 107.9. So nice work there. Okay, a lot to talk about. Let's start with the offense, shall we? The one thing that you can't overstate is the ability to win games late. And it's not all about points. And these are some things that I've talked about quite a bit with just this team, and our situational football has not been good, where we're looking to make too many big plays as opposed to just eating up clock and getting first downs. And Jimmy G did that today. The most important drive was the last drive of the game, and it ended with kneel downs, right? So when I talk about players knowing how to win, right? This is what I'm talking about. He knew exactly what he needed to do in order in that specific situation. Nobody had to tell him. Nobody had to instruct him. He knew what he needed at that point. He went and got it. That's all he needed. So it takes a lot of players on the team, but it takes a lot of players with smarts that are able to keep their head in rough situations. So we saw a little bit of everything. We saw some deeper passes, didn't connect. We kind of figured that. The passing game looked crisp. Jimmy G looked like he was able to move around while keeping his eyes downfield. There was a couple of plays where I looked and I'm like, where is he throwing the ball? Oh, okay, he caught it. So have yourself a game. Jacoby Myers. Again, Jacoby Myers, I hope you're doing okay. That hit looked ugly. Whenever I see someone laid out prone with their arms curled and their eyes wide open, it really freaks me out, man. And he's able to walk off the field, and I think he was more annoyed than anything. But Kareem Jackson's been known to do this. He's that kind of player, so whatever. Hopefully he gets fined or whatever, because this is not the first time Kareem Jackson's done this, or done this to us. So Jacoby Myers, he had 9 catches for 81 yards and 2 touches. Devonta Adams, 6 for 66. Jacobs, 2 for 23. Hooper with that big fingertip catch, 1 for 20. DeAndre Carter, 1 for 5. Zamir White, 1 for 5. Interestingly enough, no targets for Hunter Renfrow. I would have thought that we would have incorporated him into the game a little bit more. It was a game of matchups. You saw towards one of the big adjustments that we did in the second half is we started doing a lot more motion and creating favorable matchups. Because look, in the fourth quarter, guys, it's about players, not plays. It's about getting your playmakers the ball, and that's what Jimmy G did. That's what Josh McDaniels drew up to make sure we get our favorable matchups. So excellent work there. Josh Jacobs, he was strong. This defensive front is just as good. I said it myself. I said I'm not that impressed with the Denver defense. They lost a couple of guys, which they did. I forgot they didn't have Randy Gregory last year. He got hurt, but they have him now. So that's a little bit of an upgrade to what they didn't have last year. But yeah, man, it's tough sledding for Josh Jacobs in the running department. Josh Jacobs, 19 rushes for 48 yards. That's rough. Zamir White 1 for 2. The game is still going on in the background here. I don't know what's going on, nor do I care. I know that we won, which is great. So let's take a look at the defense here. Nate Hobbs, have yourself a day. Nate Hobbs is a weapon. I saw at least 3 times where he blitzed on a run blitz, and he met the player in the backfield twice. And he did have 2 tackles for loss and a quarterback hit. So Nate Hobbs, 12 tackles, 8 solo, 2 tackles for loss. Excellent job there. Nightmare Raider. You know, I love my players. I'm all about players. Players over plays. Players. Because you can drop the perfect play, but if you don't got a player, he ain't going to execute. All right. Max Crosby over the field again. He only had 5 tackles, but whatever, man. He had that sack, a tackle for loss, a couple of quarterback hits. Look, man. Offensively, I felt that we looked good. We moved the ball. I think we only punted 1 time, and we had another drive that we didn't get points was the interception. We just didn't have a lot of drives. We were forcing Denver to matriculate the ball up the field, to dink and dunk up the field, which they were doing, but we stiffened up in the end, and luckily we got the missed extra point, but also we kind of gave them points by being on the 1 and throwing an interception in the red zone. That can't happen. But Rick Baker, do you got anything you want to say, man? Like a question or comment or anything like that? I'll throw you up. Thank you for the $5 super chat. Appreciate you. A couple things I want to talk about. The offense looks good. I think once Jacobs, he's in shape. Josh is in shape. He just doesn't have his timing down quite just yet. Once he gets that back, I think we'll be fine there. I think the offense looks good. I think the offense is built to move the ball. I think Jimmy G is built to move the ball. I was rolling my eyes on Twitter or X. I'm going to call it Twitter. I don't give a shit. When Jimmy G gets elbowed in the back of the head and people are like, oh, there he goes again, Jimmy Glass. I'm like, dude, he didn't get hurt because he's injury prone. He got dazed because somebody elbowed him in the back of the head. Like, relax. Okay? That's just a ridiculous, that's what you're just trying to be right at that point. You're just looking like a confirmation bias. Like, you're just looking to confirm what you are. Dude, anybody would have get elbowed in the back of the head like that, it would have been messed up. They would have been messed up. So I love the adjustments of more motion in the second half, creating more favorable matchups for us. If you notice, especially on our last scoring drive, we motioned, we looked at the matchups, and then we motioned another guy. So it wasn't even like a drawn up play. We're like, okay, let's motion over here. All right, now you go over here and do this. It's like it's playground ball, and it's great. It shows that we're able to adjust on the fly. It shows that we're able to take advantage of matchups that we think are in our favor, and we kept the ball moving. Let's talk about the defense. I talked about Ja'Cory Bennett. Welcome to the NFL. These guys are really good. These receivers are big, fast, strong, and they're smart. That's going to happen, man. I don't care who you are. As a rookie, you're going to make some mistakes. I like the fact that he was very aggressive in the run game. What did he have tackle-wise? I think he had a lot of good tackles. Let's see here. Ja'Cory Bennett, third on the team, 7 tackles, 7 solo tackles. So they were all solo. Good job for him. All right, y'all. I was severely, severely unimpressed by Tyree Wilson. He looked like he was in quicksand. He was extremely slow off the snap. He recorded one more tackle than a dead man. Him and Jesper Horsted had the same number of tackles, just to show you what's going on. Jesper Horsted and him had the same number of tackles. This is something that needs to be addressed. We have to be a little understanding of this point. Now, again, I'm not absolving him from needing to improve. But Tyree Wilson spent his entire offseason getting healthy, not working on his pass rush. So I would suggest that he would get better as the year went along. Now, I do have one suggestion. Tyree Wilson, take a note from like Nick Bosa from the Niners. He gets in a sprinter stance and he just shoots. He doesn't worry. He'll react after he makes contact. He'll react afterwards. If you overrun a play, fine, but just fire off, and we'll see what happens from there. He's in that traditional, 4-point stance. Sometimes he was in a 2-point stance once, and it seems like he's reading too much. I don't know that that's necessarily. I get that that's what that position across from Max Crosby calls for. You can't have 2 defensive ends just firing with their hair on fire. You just can't do that. When you do that, you're leaving yourself very susceptible to counterplay, to a delay, to misdirection, stuff like that. So the guy on the opposite side of Max Crosby, which was Chandler Jones, is more of a read and react guy, whereas Max is just firing and whatever I see, I'm going to tackle type of guy. This was, now to his credit, he wasn't supposed to start. The whole Chandler Jones situation kind of like threw a monkey wrench into everything. Jenkins, actually, I believe Jenkins was the one that started. But yeah, he looks really slow off the snap. Now, is that what he's told to do? Just get up and react and make sure nothing gets outside of you and push everything back towards Max Crosby? That's possible. We have to keep that in mind, guys. We have to keep that in mind, that Max Crosby is relentless, and he did run behind a lot of plays because he was either bounced out or it was pushed back in. So Tyree Wilson may be sacrificing some of his stats for the design of the defensive front, but it didn't look great. Hopefully we see because the physical tools are there. We just need to kind of shine them up a little bit. Yeah, it just needs to get shined up. I was a little bit disappointed in that. One thing, I was pleasantly surprised with Trevon Merrick. Merrick went in there. I think he had a pretty nice game. I think he had a pass breakup. Let me double check here. When I say I was jumping around like crazy, I was jumping around. I think I popped my Achilles. Trevon Merrick, 6 tackles, 5 solo. Also, I want to give a big shout out to Divine Diablo, 9 tackles, 5 solo. I got a tackle for loss and a big pass defense towards the goal line when the Broncos were driving, and he dove and smacked the ball down. So great pass defense there. Excellent job. We learned a lot this week. And the best part of learning a lot is you can work on it with a victory, right? Some things we need to kind of keep a closer eye on. Jimmy G, he loves throwing to his wide receivers, man. He didn't really throw a lot to his tight ends like we thought he would. Didn't really do it. He likes Jacoby Myers and he likes Devontae Adams. I mean, shit, why not, right? Throw your best guys. We'll have to wait and see what happens with Jacoby Myers. That's unfortunate. Now, speaking of unfortunate, that's a pro segue there. We had quite a few penalties, man. We had 10 penalties for like 90-something yards. That is ridiculous. This was a very close game. Both teams had 22 first downs. Both teams had 11 passing, 5 rushing, and 6 first downs from penalties. So we were both 5 for 11 on third down. We were 1 for 1 on fourth down. They didn't try it at all on fourth down. We did 55 total plays. Denver did 58 total plays. Total yards, 261 for us, 260 for them. Super, super, super tight game. Kind of cool, kind of like poetic because it's ugly, but it's a pretty game, but it was ugly at the same time. The rain didn't help much. Penalties. We had 10 penalties for 97 yards. The Donkeys had 10 penalties for 83 yards. Let's take a look at these penalties. I pointed out 5 penalties that I wanted to, if I had hair, I would have pulled it out from the roots. First one, Tillery jumping off sides on fourth down. It's just a dumb play, man. There's certain players out there who just make dumb plays. Tillery is that guy. Last year when he, knocked the ball, out of someone's hands, or that 2 years ago. Illuminor. You get inside the 5-yard line, Illuminor's going to jump off sides. You know what I'm saying? It's just what he does. You just have to be okay with it. Because if you're going to put him out there, if you're going to trot him out there, he's going to do it. Right? Am I wrong, guys? I don't think so. I think we've seen this over and over and over again. You get inside the 5-yard line, Illuminor's going to put you outside the 5-yard line. And he did. That's my second dumb, really hurtful penalty that we had. The third one was Peters on the Russell fumble, illegal contact. Now, did the illegal contact happen while Russell was in the pocket? If so, it's illegal contact. If the illegal contact happened after Russell left the pocket, it was a bad call. We shouldn't have been called for that. Next one was, how can you be a wide receiver and not know how to line up properly? Carter, again, inside the 10-yard line, he had a penalty that knocked us outside the 10-yard line. Cannot happen, guys. Cannot happen. And the last one, Luke Masterson, what are you doing? You have to take a better angle than that if you're going to dive for the ball. Anyone who's played special teams in their entire life knows you don't dive straight into the punter. You just don't do it. You come at an angle and you try to time it. Because if you jump straight into the punter and you don't get the ball, it's going to be 15 yards. I don't know what he was thinking. It was just a dumb play. All these plays are just dumb plays. Is it coaching? I don't know. Tillery did it with our previous coach, with Bisaccia. So did Illuminor with our previous coach, had the same problem. So we can't really blame the coaching staff now for those players. Marcus Peters is the vet of all vets. And again, the first game of the season, any penalties by rookies like Jacorian Bennett, you kind of have to eat those and be like, you know what? It just is what it is. I'm not saying it's okay, but goddamn, he's a rookie. He's playing outside on an island against, grown-ass men. It's going to happen. It happens to veteran guys. But those 5 penalties, man, those were rough. The Tillery penalty, the Peters penalty, Illuminor, Carter, and Masterson. Those 5 penalties were huge. We got to clean that up, man. We got away with it with grit. We got away with it with situational football. We got away with it with timely stops. That's how we got away with winning this game. We're not going to be able to do that against other teams. I'm not saying that the Broncos are a bad team. What I'm saying is 10 penalties for giving up a whole football field in penalties. You can't win that way. It's just not sustainable. I am encouraged by the fact that we I think a Broncos fan is going wild in the streets and the police are after him. I think that one thing we need to address is the adjustments made offensively and defensively. You saw Nate Hobbs creeping up more and doing more run support in early downs, and I think it helped a lot. It did put us in a rough situation on one play where Spillane had to kind of cover a little bit deeper than he's comfortable with. He didn't get quite wide enough to cover the entire field, and Russell Wilson completed a pass in front of him. That you're gonna have to live with that if you want to use a more dynamic player like a Nate Hobbs to play run support. You're gonna have to have some guys that are normally run support play coverage behind him, and that's what you're gonna get. Let's not lose sight of what's important here. The most important thing is we're 1-0. We're atop of the division, clean. No tie, no nothing. We are on top of this division. We're 1-0. We're in first place. What do we got going here, guys? What do we got going here? Can't rough the kicker exactly. Illuminor in the red zone. Coaching errors, but they will learn. Yeah, we had some coaching errors, man. Offensively, Nightmare Raider podcast. Offensively, we needed to disguise our running plays a little bit better. I think we were kind of giving away our run plays. It's something that we need to work on. I'm very encouraged, like I just said. I'm very encouraged by the way we adjusted in the second half and using more motion and creating better matchups for ourselves. I think Jimmy G is an extremely smart quarterback. I think we see now that Jimmy G is a good quarterback. Is he the type of quarterback who's just going to throw for a 300, 400 yards? No, he's not that kind of guy. But he's going to move the ball down the field. He's going to get situational football right, and we're gonna score points with this guy. And he just does what it takes to win games, man. Defensively, I don't know whether it was by design, but we were playing extremely light. We were playing extremely lax, and we were getting chewed up down the field. I think towards the end of the game, we started playing a little tighter and forced Russell Wilson to hold on to the ball a little bit longer and force him into some bad passes. So it looks like we did make some adjustments throughout the game, which is great. Those last few stops at the end, I can't say enough how encouraged I am with how this defense played late in the game. Got us back on the field offensively when we needed it. We put them in a very bad spot. We had them. I think they were inside the 5-yard line with goal to go, and we held them to a field goal, which is great. So there's a lot of good things to take away from this. Of course, you got to learn it win or lose. You're going to have to learn some things, right? You're going to have to adjust. But we also took away some things too, that we got some situational football done, and it worked, man. 1-0, we're looking good. As far as personnel wise, I'm very concerned about Jacoby Myers. I hate to see that. Defensive line is thin now. We're going to have to play players that we didn't normally think we're going to have to play. a lot more because of the Chandler Jones situation. Defensive tackle, we were getting slashed pretty good up the middle. Now, Williams and Pirine are two quality running backs in the NFL. And one thing that we're not focusing on, or maybe I didn't focus on as much in my pregame, was the fact that Denver did upgrade their offensive line. Not only did they get players back from injury, but they signed McClinchy, so it's an upgrade. They upgraded their line, but again, every week you're gonna go against good lines. All right. So guys, again, Bad Guy 17, Donkey 16, Raiders 17-16 over the Broncos today on the road. Big road win to start the season. Give ourselves a little bit of confidence going into week 2. It's a tough game again on the road at Buffalo. It's going to be kind of hot out there because it normally is around this time, but it's better than being in freezing cold, right? Robert Davila. I agree, but also let's not discount the win today. Today was a test too. Today was a test because of a lot of things. Today was a test because offensively, I think we were moving the ball consistently the entire game. We didn't get a lot of possessions, guys. I'll tell you that right now. We punted once, and we had an interception in the red zone. Other than that, we scored on every possession we had, I believe. This screams of a game that we would have lost. I'm not sure why. I think it was maybe because towards the end of the game, we got this big stop where a lot of times we didn't, and we just let the opposing team just chew up a bunch of clock. But we've also gotten stops in the past, went 3 and out, kicked the ball right back to him. Jimmy G knows situational football. He knows that no negative plays. Let me get 2-3 yards out of this play at least. Let me get something out of this play so I can make sure to shorten my next play. Because my goal now is the first down. It's not scoring points. It's eating the clock up, right? One thing that I want to make sure, Robert Davila, thank you for the comment, man. Nate Dogg with $2 super chat. Thank you, Nate Dogg. Need to trade for DeForest Buckner from the Colts. He's got a pretty fat price tag, bro. I'm gonna tell you that right now. He's got a pretty fat price tag. But if we can make it work, man, it's just somebody that I wouldn't mind having on this team. DeForest Buckner's a little bit older, but he's talented. Thank you for the super chat, man. Appreciate you. Defensively, I think once we figured out what the Broncos were doing, I think we were able to match up and adjust ourselves, and it showed towards the end of the game. We had a couple of penalties that left that, we actually stopped, we stopped the Broncos, and then we had to stop them again, and the guy ended up getting a field goal out of it, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. If I'm wrong about that, let me know. But the issue that we're going defensively is what's taking so long for the adjustments to happen. That's what the assistants are for. The assistants are there to kind of take a look at the minutia while the coordinators are there to look over the landscape, right? So what do you think about the offensive play calling? Our run scheme looked way obvious. That's what I said earlier. We need to disguise our run plays a little bit better, not only by personnel, but also by formation and by personnel grouping. We need to do a little bit better job of that because it looked pretty obvious when we were going to run and when we were passing the ball. Sam A., thank you for the $5 super chat, my man. Appreciate you. It's Carr, Soto. We would have lost with him. It's okay. We can talk about him. Carr ain't here. Look, man, I will say this. This is the type of game that we've won in the past with Derek Carr, and this is the type of game that we've lost in the past with Derek Carr. What I'm saying is the way that we lost these games are things that Jimmy G does well. It was situational football. It's your defense getting a big stop, but then you're not able to get a first down because you're looking to push it down the field. Or you're looking for you're staying too long on your primary and it's a deeper pass instead of looking for the secondary receivers or the outlets first to be able to get those chunk yards. There's a lot involved in that, and I don't necessarily want to go down that route, but I will say on who we have on the team now, I don't know that mental error is going to be a big issue with Jimmy G. I thought he played really well. I thought he played heady. I thought he did a good job. The interception, the ball was a bad ball. I mean, throw it out of the end zone, man. I get it. He doesn't have the history of missing players that are open in the end zone, but you're trying to force the ball in under triple coverage to a running back. It's not a good decision. Jacoby Myers, yeah, he had a good game, man. He led the team in receptions, and let's just hope he's healthy and can come back. Jimmy G just wins, baby. Yeah, look, it's really important for us to understand that stats don't win games, right? Doing the right things in the situations is huge. That run that Jimmy G had at the end of the game, I don't know that I've ever been so excited to see an 8-yard run in my life. Defensively, we need some help up the middle. We need to shore up the middle. Tillery is more of a pass rusher. He had a sack today. He was getting, pushed pretty good on the run game. Spillane was juked in the hole by Pirine. He had him for a tackle for loss, and he got juked. He needs to do a little bit better job. He did an okay job. He wasn't as bad as people say he was. He reminded me of a Denzel Perryman, man. That's what he reminded me of. Some things about rookies defensively. I think Jacorian Bennett did a pretty good job. He looked a little raw. He showed some tools, right? He had a lot of tackles for loss, stuff like that. Coverage wise, he's going to learn, man. It just takes time. Tyree Wilson, I didn't know that we should have expected too much from him in the beginning. I didn't know if he was going to play a lot, even with Chandler Jones there. But having no Chandler Jones forced him into a bigger role. Just not ready for it yet. He hasn't had a lot of time. If you guys weren't here earlier, I stated that we should take a slower approach with Tyree Wilson, as long as he's not making huge mistakes, because he spent this entire offseason getting healthy, not working on his pass rush moves. So going forward, there's a couple things we need to do, I believe. Number one, we need to disguise our run game a little bit better. I thought we were a little obvious in the run game. Two, we need to utilize our weapons a little bit better. No targets for Hunter Renfrow. I think that's something that needs to be done. Use all our weapons, be a little bit more diverse in our passing attack. Defensively, I feel that we need to not take so long to adjust. I think the adjustments that we made, a little bit tighter on the coverage, dropping down Nate Hobbs into the box a lot more, really helped out against the run. And we need to not put our rookie players in such rough situations. I think we can move around in passing situations. We can move Tyree Wilson around up and down the line. That way, he can get a chance to go against the guard and center sometimes, just going against tackles. But yeah, those are four big things that I mean. The kicking game was great. Kicking game was awesome. They always are. So it's only the first game, And I kind of said earlier, you got Russell. Russell Wilson's a veteran, right? So he's a veteran, a good player, but it's his third system in 3 years. Okay, so a lot has changed. He didn't have the number one receiver. Okay, whatever. He still go out there and play the game, right? But the defense showed up, only allowed 16 points, made some big stops, but also made a lot of dumb penalties. And that's my biggest takeaway of this game. We have to cut down on penalties. We are not dynamic enough, especially defensively. We are not dynamic enough to overcome those type of penalties. All right. All right, guys. That's my time for today. I'm going to go ahead and make sure everybody in my whole neighborhood knows that the Raiders are 1-0. We're in first place, shooting all the way up to the top. Until next time, guys. Peace.